Hey y'all, my name is DrMrsQua and I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. And on this channel, we unpack psychology through TV, movies, social media, and just real mental health. So today we'll be talking about Love and Basketball, which is a classic romantic movie that really is about struggle love, attachment wounds, and a love that's supposed to be destiny, but really it's not. So if you want to hear more, pull up a seat, get comfortable, and let's get into it. So this isn't going to be like a scene by scene breakdown. So a basic overview of the movie is Quincy and Monica are the two main characters. They move together. Monica and her family moves next door to Quincy and his family. And, their initial interaction is a little bit aggressive. They both are bonded by basketball and they form a friendship. Fast forwards to their high school years and they have like this friendship. And through whatever on their prom night, I believe it was, they ended up discovering that they are going to the same college and they end up in a relationship. Then fast forwards again to them in college. It's their freshman year. They're together. Quincy is more of the a star player while Monica is more on the riding the bench. They have some difficulties in the relationship when Quincy finds out some disturbing information about his father. They end up breaking up. And then we have another 5-year jump where Quincy is in NBA. Monica is in the International Women's Basketball League. Because this is before, I believe the movie starts in like the 80s, the late 80s or something like that. And so when they do the 5-year fast forward, this is before the WNBA was created. So she's doing well internationally playing basketball. He's doing well as well. He has a injury and she hears about it. She moves back. She has this conversation with her mom. Again, they're next door neighbors. Their bedroom windows kind of face each other. So she goes, and this is like the climactic part that everybody's going, oh my God, it's so romantic. She goes next door and she practically begs him to play for his heart. And if she wins, they'll be together. And if she loses, then she'll go away. They play the game. She actually loses, but he's like double or nothing. And that's supposed to mean this romantic thing. They end up together. Yay. So before I get into the main issues I have with this movie, the two tropes that they have that's pretty common in a lot of rom-com movies is the first trope is the pretty girl that you didn't know was pretty. Like, oh my goodness. Typically how they do it is there's clearly a conventional attractive woman. But she has like glasses or something like that, and then she takes her glasses off, lets her hair down. It's like, oh my goodness, I didn't know that you were pretty. But in this movie, it's pretty much her wearing a dress. Right, there are two main scenes where she is wearing a dress, and it's like, oh my God, I didn't know that you had value, which is really what's behind the pretty girl trope, right? It's like your personality, your interests, your characteristics, all those things are unimportant. And then once you're pretty, then you have value, and it's so dehumanizing. But here we are. The second trope is like the enemies to lovers kind of thing, where the two main characters or the two love interests, they'll start off like not liking each other, and it kind of slowly builds to this romantic thing where they actually find out, oh, we have so much in common, we love each other. The problem with Love and Basketball is that this was never fleshed out. Like, when we see their initial interaction, again, she had just moved into the neighborhood, and upon winning, or I think she was about to make the winning shot, he like pushes her down and is like very aggressive. He is aggressive on a few other occasions as well. And he doesn't see her as anything, even though they have all these things in common. But it's when the next day she has a dress on for her first day of school. It's like, oh, you're pretty, want to be my girlfriend. They get into it immediately. He's aggressive again, and then cuts. No build up. And then when it cuts to them in high school, we don't really see, outside of proximity, we don't really see any indication that they have. We don't see it. We don't see the formulation of their bond. There's no evidence that we see a couple scenes where like Monica is kind of like looking longingly after him, but he living his best life. He's a star basketball player. She's on the basketball team as well, and he got his chickadees. Like he's good. He's not thinking about her, and it's not until for the spring dance, I think they call it, but I wonder if that's their prom. I don't know. Whatever. They go to this dance and she's wearing a dress, and it's like, oh, you're pretty. Now I see value in you. We're going to the same school. Let's be together. That's not romantic, but okay. Well, I can go on and on and on and on and on about this movie and everything about it that gives me the ick. I'm gonna break it down into Monica and her mother, Quincy and his father, their relationship dynamic, and just like my overall thoughts and analysis on it. So, when it comes to Monica and her mother, from the very moment that her and her mother are on the screen together, it's very clear that her mother has this like disdain for her because Monica is this like tomboy, and you can see that her mother is very, the traditional or more acceptable, if you will, presentation of femininity. Monica's not like that, and so there's constant criticism. It's Monica, she has an older sister, excuse me, her father, and her older sister and mother are constantly criticizing her. There's no support. There's no anything, no value for her playing basketball. And her father, you can see she has a better relationship with her father, but the way that he's supportive is, you can tell that he doesn't disagree, but he's just trying to soften the blow, and that's not cool. When we get to the part where she's getting ready to go to the spring dance, prom, whatever it was, um, and her sister's doing her hair, and she's wearing the dress, right? Because this is how we know you have value. You look good in a dress. Her mother's like, "Oh my God, you look so beautiful," and Monica's like, "Really, you think I'm beautiful?" Now here's why this is problematic. We know that this is their senior year, so Monica is like 17 or 18 years old. So you mean for 17, 18 years, you never told your daughter that she was beautiful? This is her first. You see how that's problematic, and we see, to give her mother a very, very, very little bit of grace, we see the dynamics that's happening in her marriage with Monica's father. I forget his name, but there's a scene where Monica's mother is Camille. Camille is very clearly exhausted. She's getting ready for bed. Her husband comes in. He's holding up two shirts, and he's like, "Oh, which one of these should I wear?" And she chooses one. He's like, "Well, can you just iron them both?" And she does, and it just shows like you don't matter, right? Um, it's also later on known that her mother wanted to be a caterer, but she gave up her dreams to be this pretty wife, and so that's embedded in her, the internalized sexism, and she's like externalizing it onto Monica, and it's very tragic. It's very tragic, and there's a scene later on after she comes back after Quincy's injury, and they're having this heart to heart, and it's supposed to be this very like endearing, like, oh, but it's kind of disgusting because her mother's like, Camille's like, "Oh, I didn't know that you needed me at your games. You needed my support." You mean to tell me that you didn't know that your daughter needed you? No, what really happened is you placed no value in Monica's love of basketball, and so because you didn't think it was important, you also discarded your daughter, and you weren't supportive of her. It's not okay. And then in that conversation, she tells Monica, like, when I told you that Quincy could do better, I meant you. Also not endearing, because again, you're framing her worth and her value on a man. You're not seeing her for who and how she is. You're not seeing her for this what we're led to believe, this very successful career that she had, living her dream. She's always loved basketball. She was living her dream internationally, winning championships and tournaments and things like that. And like, this is, you see what I'm saying? Like, this ain't it. This ain't it. This ain't it. Um, I could go on and on and on and on and on. But basically, based on what we see from the relationship, it would not be difficult to deduce. Now, I can't diagnose nobody because I know those people and they're fictional. But I would absolutely believe that Monica had anxious attachment. And so, with anxious attachment, one of the common things we see when it comes to romantic relationships is that you're constantly chasing this thing that's unattainable or doesn't really want to be caught, which is classic Quincy. And so the whole trajectory of what we see with Monica, with the relationship in high school, like he was not paying her any attention, but now she got this dress on, and like y'all going to the same college, and now y'all together. Well, where's your worth? Where's your value? Then same thing in college. Like he's a big man on campus. He's blatantly, in my opinion, disrespectful, and fans are, hey Quincy, hey Q, and he's with his girl, and like just the disrespect, but it's very much given like love me, I want to be chosen, I want to be loved, because for all of her life by her mother and her sister, she's been told in so many ways how she is unlovable and not good enough. And so it makes sense to me that this is somebody who will be in a relationship that continues those messages. So I'm not gonna go on and on and on and on, because I could, but I won't. Next, let's get into Quincy and his father. So Quincy's father is a former NBA player. And so one of the things that we see a little bit of the seeds of how Quincy's mentality was molded into the person that he is. So there's a scene where there Quincy and Monica's initial meeting, I talked about how she either had just shot the winning shot for the little game they were playing with the neighborhood kids, or she was about to, and he pushes her down, and he ends up hurting her pretty significantly. She has this big cut on her cheek, and so he's writing an apology letter. He's just having a difficult time, and so he's like, I can't do this shit. And his father, the mother and father, they're like, taken back. And so when his father Zeke goes to chastise him, he doesn't chastise him for cussing. He chastises him for saying can't, because according to Zeke, can't shouldn't be in a man's vocabulary, because if you say can't, you're not a man. Toxic, okay? Toxic. And I get the idea of like, oh, believe in yourself and all these things, but like that just gives us a little inkling of like the toxic masculinity that is being taught to Quincy. Because again, there's nothing wrong with wanting your child to believe in themselves and seek higher and do better, but like that's what would or wouldn't make you a man. Okay, I digress. Oh, real quick, I want to jump in and add that when Quincy is aggressive towards Monica, there's absolutely no acknowledgement of that. Like Quincy's parents don't say like, "Hey, boy, what you doing? You like that's not okay. Like this is not how we handle things. You don't put your hands on nobody." Monica's mama don't say nothing. She just like, "Oh, you out there being a tomboy." It just goes. I'm gonna talk about this a little later, but I just had to jump in and add this part. It goes to show that the way that Monica is like, Quincy can just do whatever, but Monica's like, you're in the wrong. She's constantly the one that's the wrong, and it's I hate this movie. Moving on. When we move through, even in that first scene, the first scene we see with Quincy, his mom, and his dad, I believe it's Zeke and Nona. They're arguing because he's going to be going late. It's very clear that he's often away from home, and so we see their first argument. So we see the dynamic of the relationship, even if it's in this small glimpse. We see the dynamic is that she is pretty much often solo parenting because he's away. I think at this time he wasn't in the NBA any longer. He was doing some other career, whatever. But we see the beginning of the dynamic of the relationship, right? And so then when we fast forward to them in high school, and there's a scene where, again, well, I don't know if I said this, but Monica moved next door to Quincy. So they're next door neighbors, and their bedrooms are like across from each other. So their windows are facing each other. So there's a scene where Zeke and Nona are they're arguing, and you could tell this about him, constantly being gone. Perhaps questioning about what he's doing while he's gone. And so Quincy goes out the window, knocks on Monica's window, climbs in, and she just kind of like instinctively hands him a pillow and a blanket. And it is, the audience could deduce that this is something that probably frequently happens. So keep that in mind. It's going to be important, because when we go to them in high school, and Quincy finds out, so the big thing that broke Quincy and Monica up is that Quincy found out that his father was cheating. His father came to him and was like, "Oh, somebody's claiming that they're having my baby, but it's not true." Quincy goes to his mother, finds out that not only is it true, he's been cheating for quite some time. And so he's just kind of like in this disbelief of like, "Oh my goodness, I cannot believe this." And the movie wants us to believe that Quincy had no idea that this was going on. And I struggle to believe this because, again, we see that Nona and Zeke are frequently arguing. This is up until, I'm assuming the day that Quincy graduated. So as a teenager, he's hearing these arguments. So, like, I find it very hard to believe that this is his first indication that his father is cheating, right? But what the movie does, which I really don't like, it uses this kind of narrative to like frame Quincy as the victim. And don't get me wrong, finding out, that if you have these ideas of your parent and you find out it's completely different, that is absolutely heartbreaking. But the problem I have is that Quincy's behavior is disgusting. It's disgusting thereafter. And we see that his father's like, oh, I couldn't help it. Like, the women was waiting for me at the door. Well, close the door. Don't go to the door. You with this big fancy NBA player, like, get security. Like, only reason why people cheat is because you're a cheat. He took no accountability. He had no remorse, and he low key kind of accused Quincy's mama like baby trapping him. And so this is not new. Okay, this one could deduce that this is how his father's always been. And so we see that we're going to see when I go into Quincy and Monica's relationship, this is the things that Quincy has absorbed and he has now embodied in his personality and how he treats people. And it's just disgusting. I would, again, not trying to diagnose people, but it seems to me very clear that Quincy might have avoidant attachment. And there's a common trope or stereotype that, like, high school boys, they're all like players and they don't commit and this and that. And that's a stereotype. But we do see with avoidant attachment is that there is this fear and this avoidance of vulnerability of intimate relationships. You really don't want any parts of this, and so you're always running away. You're not really allowing those connections to be made, and when those connections are made, then you doing whatever you gotta do to, like, got a blast, you get out of there, and we see that embodied in Quincy. So again, I can go on and on and on, but I'm not. So finally, let's get into Quincy and Monica's relationship. So as I previously stated, I believe that Monica has an anxious attachment style and Quincy has an avoidant attachment style. And so what we often see in an anxious avoidant attachment relationship is there's this constant pull push where the person with the anxious attachment is like, come, love me, because again, they're trying to heal those wounds of not feeling good enough, feeling unlovable, wanting to be accepted, wanting to just be loved, to feel safe. And with the avoidant attachment, it's like, no, like I'm not doing that because that doesn't feel safe, right? And so it's this constant pull push. So again, with the relationship, one thing that I know that I think is very disgusting and is very stereotypical is Quincy from the jump is very aggressive, right? First meeting, played a basketball game, pushed her down, gets a gash in her cheek. The next morning, when he asks her to be his girlfriend, and this goes back to him with his relationship, the things that he learned from his father. He's like, oh, if you're my girlfriend, you got to ride on my bike. Okay, she doesn't want to do it, and they fight. He pushes her down, very aggressive. But it's boys will be boys. Okay. And when they jump to high school, she's aggressive in her game, and it's all like it's for her. The message for Monica is almost always like, you got to tone it down, you got to stop. But with Quincy, that's not the case, which is a very gender stereotype that, like, girls need to be soft, need to be whatever, and boys, boys will be boys. You can do that, right? So I'll be honest, for both characters, their personalities, their relationship is they're not really fleshed out as characters outside of like liking basketball and Monica's mother being extremely critical of her, and Quincy, wanting to be an NBA player like his father. We don't learn anything about them. Do they got a rocket collection? Do they like science? Nothing. And the same thing goes for the relationship. Like, again, when we see them jump to high school, Quincy, he got chicks after chick. There's a scene where Monica's watching his game, and a girl gives Monica a note to give to Quincy, and when she gives it to him, he's all excited, like, oh, the girl with the big titties. Like, he ain't checking for Monica. There is, and at this point they had known each other for what, 6, 7 years. Okay, they met. Look, I think there was 11, so we can assume that they're like 17, 18. So yeah, 6, 7 years. And so before she put that dress on, there was nothing that you saw about her that you were like, oh, maybe I would like to date her. Nah, it was a dress. Anyways, moving on. So then they get to college, and like I said, he's a star. She's not. Again, you're too aggressive. You're too confident. The very same things that's making Quincy a star. Monica. Okay, all right, we're gonna leave that right there. And so then, when he finds out this news, which you cannot convince me that he didn't know that his daddy was out here. He didn't know his papa was a Rolling Stone. But I digress. When he gets this news, again, Monica, she's on the bench. The whole movie is framed on the fact that they both love in basketball. They both love and appreciate basketball. And so with him being a star and her riding the bench, like she finally gets, I think the night that he tells her about he's learning about his father's affair, she can't stay out too late because if she misses curfew, she's not going to be able to play the game. And so, like, if anyone would understand that, one would think that it's you. And it's not like she was like, hey, I can't talk to you. I got to go. She's like, come with me. Let's go to my room. Let's continue this. I want to be here for you. And he like, nah. And again, I'm not trying to diminish the emotional scars that would cause learning these things about your parent that you love and cherish. And like, you had no idea, which, whatever, ain't going to be the dead horse. But it's just completely unsupportive. The first time that she's not there for him, she gets discarded, which is very in line with someone with avoidant attachment. So the next day, she finally gets her chance to play. He doesn't go to the game. She goes to a party that she hears he's going to be at specifically to see him, to continue the conversation. He's being very standoffish, very rude. He's flirting openly with another chickadee in her face, just like very disrespectful. Again, from what we as a viewer, because they don't give us much, from what we as a viewer see, this is the first kind of discord that they've had in their relationship, and this how you acting? Okay, so then I think that next day, the same day, whatever, she goes to his dorm apartment, whatever, and he's again being very rude, very standoffish. And then the same chickadee she was flirting with at the party comes over because he invited her there. And then he like, yeah, we got plans, and just deuces out on Monica and immediately cheats on her. So you so broken up about your daddy cheating, and then you cheat. But again, this goes to show what I believe are the toxic traits of masculinity that was passed down from his father. Because after that they meet again, and Monica's still trying to be there, right? The pool, come love me, let me be there, how can I help? And he's very much nah. So he breaks up with her, like, I'm going to the NBA, I'm going to the draft. And she's like, what about us? He's like, what about us? I don't really think it needs to be no us. And he just breaks up with her on the spot. No concern with her feelings, just like no concern with her at all. And again, yes, he's hurting, but that does not give you free reign to hurt somebody else. So then with the relationship, and this is why this movie, it really infuriates me, because we jump, like I said, we jump 5 years. He's in the NBA, she's in the International Women's Basketball League or whatever. And it's made very clear that they have not had any communication for 5 years. So he deuced out on her, went and lived his life. But then when she hears about him being injured, she flies back to America. I forget maybe she was in Spain, Barcelona, I believe she was in. She goes back home. For some reason, she moves back in with her parents. She quits basketball, and she begins working at the bank with her father, and it's framed as like, oh, I just don't have the love for basketball anymore. And what they're implying is she doesn't have the love for basketball anymore because she doesn't have Quincy. And it just makes my skin crawl, because this boy ain't thought about you in 5 years, my love. 5 years. He ain't called, he ain't text, he ain't sent a carrier pigeon. He was not thinking about you. This man was full on engaged. He was engaged. He was living his best life. And then when she does the whole, I'll play you for your heart, she got to practically beg him. Again, that same push and pull. But this supposed to be romantic. I got to... What is this teaching? And I was 11 when I saw this. When I first saw this. And I thought, oh my God. what messages is that sending? What message is that sending of what you have to do to be chosen? Practically begs him to play this game. He like he's not trying to lose this game. And he doesn't. But then he's like, all right, double or nothing. And then it jumps to, I guess they married, they got a little daughter, and she's on the WNBA now. That's happily ever after. You want me to believe that this is love? It was destined. They were so connected. Connected about what? They're they got together at the end of their senior year. When it jumps to college, they're in their freshman year. Now, I'm not a big basketball sports person, but I believe, okay, basketball season like February, March. It starts like February, March. And so this is like in the beginning of basketball season when all this transpires. So like they were together for less than a year, my loves. Less than a year. You're trying to tell me that a relationship that was less than a year when you're 17, 18 years old, where he did you wrong. He deuced out on you at the first sign of trouble. Cheated on you. Treated you like you was nothing. Then didn't talk to you. You didn't hear from him for 5 years, but that's your soulmate? That's your destiny? What are we doing here? That's not, man, stop. That's not romantic. That's attachment wounds. She feels unlovable. She feels like she's not good enough. This is the one person that is much like her parents. You know, she's trying to get that love. She's trying to get that attention, and she's doing the same thing with him. And he finally chose her, and yay, that's a big prize. If her mother didn't give her that trash advice to, oh, you know, I thought when I say you could do better, I thought it meant with you. If she had never left, if she was like, oh, dang, that's sad, and gave him a call, like, you know, heal up, big ups, I don't know, hope you be all right, he would have never sought her out. This movie wouldn't exist. If she didn't chase him in desperation, he would have been married to old girl. And then what does that tell us about him as a person? Like, I wouldn't trust that love. Like, one could assume that, I would hope and assume that him and the fiance, I think it was like Tyra Banks played it. What's her name? Kyra? Anyways, him and his fiance, like, I would hope that they were together for longer than a year. You whole ass proposed to this girl. And then because of a basketball game with somebody you ain't talked to in 5 years, like, oh no, I do love you. What are we talking about? Like, again, I could talk about this for hours and hours and hours. But I'm not. I'm going to end it right here. You know I'm not, because another trope that they do with Quincy that's common in a lot of, especially teen romantic comedies, is the boy will be, you know, this brooding, like conflicted person who's going through something, and as the audience, we're led to believe that his love interest, the woman that he's dating, is supposed to be there to be his emotional support blanket. And women are not rehabilitation centers for men. We're not. Yes, we could be supportive, but it's not our responsibility to heal your emotional wounds, my love. That's on you. Get you a therapist. You were in college when this was going on. Go to the college counseling center. Figure that out. It's not her responsibility to be everything. This ain't the army be all you can be. Like, no. There was no responsibility on him to figure his stuff out. She wasn't there for him. And again, seemingly the first time that she wasn't there for him, he just discarded her. And the movie sets this idea that, oh, this is what true love is, like, you know, you find your way back to each other. No, because true love is not desperation. True love is not being reluctantly chosen by somebody. If you're really truly loving somebody, for one, you're not about to hurt them and dismiss them and do all these things without any accountability, acknowledgement, or remorse. That's not love. That's not love. And secondly, what true love and healthy love really is being able to maintain your worth, your sense of identity. And it's two healthy, healed people coming together who are understanding, okay, you know, this is what we're gonna do. This is the value that I see in you. This is the value I see in myself. Because let's be very clear, okay? That wasn't love as far as Quincy, that was ego. He had just had this major injury. His status in the NBA was questionable at that point, and here's somebody who was just so desperate for him. I think that he loved how much she loved him, as opposed to actually loving her. So there's so many things about this movie that is just so tragic that sets a precedent for, like, I was 11 when I first started. When this movie came out, I was 11 years old. And there's so many other people who are young, you know, teenagers, young adults who have unhealed trauma. They have these skewed views of themselves, and they're looking at movies like this, and it's teaching them and showing them, oh, this is what love. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's absolutely not. So just need to add that part. I'm pretty sure there's so many other things that I would like to say. I'm going to save it for the comments. If you haven't, if you agree with me, disagree with me, I will love to have, let's talk about it. Let's have a dialogue. Let's have a discourse. So please leave a comment. Also, if there's anything else, any other movies or shows or characters that you'd like me to talk about, leave it in the comments. And so until next time, my love, I'll see y'all in the next video.